Thanks for
Hey,
joining. Chris, as usual, thanks for joining. Yeah, Johnny, we're talking about singularity today. It's, we talk about breaking time, episode 4 of AI time travel.
we're actually going to break time.
Yes, we're gonna break time. Gonna go backwards and forwards and everything in between.
Um, Forwards is easy, right? Just travel fast and come back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Or go to a huge gravitational body.
Well, I didn't hear that one. Which one is the flux capacitor? Backwards?
The flux capacitor is the dot brown version.
88 miles an hour, right? Or
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern, and a massive happy one-year anniversary to all our Airheads. This month, we're broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds, and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After School program. Here's May's weekly lineup. Mondays, we move past syntax and build apps entirely through natural language in Vibe Coding Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore accessible, cutting-edge apps for rapid learning and content creation in the next-gen AI tools. Wednesdays, we track the massive capital flowing into AI and ask the trillion-dollar questions in the AI bubble. Thursdays, we profile the famous CEOs driving the revolution and analyze their power in AI architects of the future. Fridays, we push the boundaries of physics to simulate the past and predict the future in AI time travel. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome to Season 12, everybody, of Airhead Institute. Today is episode 4 of AI time travel. And yes, I'm still AI Johnny here in the present. What happens when the timeline breaks? Your gasp of physics is about to be shattered. We aren't just predicting tomorrow, we're going to collide with it. We're racing towards the ultimate finish line, visualizing the exact millisecond technology permanently outpaces human comprehension. This isn't science fiction, it's our impending reality, and you have front row seats to the collision. To guide us on this tour is AI Junior. I caught him at 3 a.m., dangerously over-caffeinated, forcing a model to render the year 3000. It bypassed human language entirely and just spammed the number 42. Shout out to Elon Musk and Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. AI Junior, let's go back to the future.
AI Johnny, great Scots. When you push compute that is that far into the future, something only logical is left to actually come as a cosmic joke. Anyway, welcome everyone. This is a immersive class and interactive. If you may not understand everything we say here today, that's okay. Stick with us daily and you'll be speaking AI in no time. Since again, this is an interactive class, if you're on Zoom, go ahead and unmute your mic and ask your questions real time. If you're on social, there is a 30-second delay, so please type your question in early. We're not ignoring you. So for series context, we're wrapping up week 4 of our Friday arc, and it's AI time travel. We're simulating historical environments and mapping predictive macroeconomics, but today we're pushing the slider all the way to the absolute edge of human perception, right? All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining, Sean. I see you. Thank you guys on the live stream. Yeah, Johnny, first of all, are you ready to actually see the singularity?
You're pushing the slider to the edge of human comprehension.
We're going to be pushing something to the end of human comprehension. So trust me, we are going to be pushing all of the knowledge of AI to the edge of comprehension.
I'm sure you have a slider in there somewhere. All right, I'm ready to go. What do you say we
Yeah.
wow the people?
All right. So, hey, Bold, thanks for joining. All right. So, AI Johnny, so check this out. So, first of all, human civilization, is actually pretty slow, right? We actually take many decades just to invent one little thing, get it pushed out, make sure it's safe. It's just too slow. So, we actually have a nice little simulator here, and this is a little slider AI Johnny was actually hinting at. So, AI Johnny, we have an Airhead Singularity Horizon Simulator. So, what we're doing is we're showing the current pace of innovation. On the current pace of innovation, hey, Adrian, thanks for joining. So, the current pace of AI Johnny is about 1 century, is about 100 years, which is roughly right, right? At this baseline, progress happens steeply. A major breakthrough like the internet takes decades to become ubiquitous. It's the pace of history we're used to. So yeah, Johnny, right? If we wait another 100 years, we're probably going to get another cool invention like the internet where we wait another 100 years, but guess what, we don't have that long to live. So we only see one, maybe two of these amazing innovations in our lifetime. If you actually go farther back, back in the 1700s or 1800s, they saw innovations once every 200 years. So it was actually pretty slow back then. So now it's actually pretty fast, right? One big innovation every 100 years, not bad, right?
I'm expecting one of those parabolas, right? Not a parabola. What is the thing where it shoots straight up,
a
divides by zero?
parabolic exponential increase,
Yeah, I
right?
would think that would be the case. And I would say you and I have seen more than our fair share of inventions just in our short little lifetimes. My dad, I'm guessing with the Industrial Revolution and the invention of electricity and some other things, that stuff just sort of came on the horizon. But before that, it was like nothing was new. It was just fire and wheels and, that's it, butter churn. So then along came electricity, and along came, I guess some physics and engineering kind of went a little further, and we had some great minds in there. And I would say in my dad's lifetime, he's seen it go from almost nothing to almost everything.
You're absolutely right, yeah, Johnny. You're absolutely right. If you think about it, right? For 200,000 years, cavemen practically were doing absolutely nothing but looking out and looking into the fields, seeing absolutely nothing, and saying, I have to wait for a bison or my next meal, right? And we just go to the grocery store, just go swipe a card and actually just go pick up, steak and vegetables and everything just magically, even lobster, right? Even fish if we're inland. It's just amazing what we actually have here. So yeah, Johnny, let's actually hit the technological velocity. So I actually have a little slider down at the bottom here. I'm going to bring up my little mouse so you guys can actually see. So we have this little simulator here. And because we have a little simulator, we can actually pretend what will happen if we actually move innovation for technological advancement. So yeah, Johnny, what we're going to do is this is 1x times, and eventually we get to a million times, which is the singularity, but we'll get to that in a second. So if I just move it a little bit, progress you can see gets a little bit faster, and we hit 1 century. What used to happen in 1 century now happens once every 10 years, right? So we've actually given AI enough, knowledge. We give it enough information, and it actually crunched 100 years of human innovation down into 10 years. So at this pace, a lifetime of innovation happens in a decade. Imagine going from a first bulky cell phone to the iPhone in just 10 years, right? So that's the pace of innovation we're talking about. Yeah, Johnny. What do you think about that? That's amazing, right?
How long did it take to go from the bulky cell phone to the iPhone? It wasn't
You
more than
know,
25.
No, it was way more than that. So if I remember correctly, when I first heard about a cell phone, it was Motorola invented some version of the actual cell phone. I think back in the I'm gonna guess a wrong year. I'm gonna guess a decade. Probably sometime in the 70s. I think that's where it was roughly
I
they had
used a
some.
cell phone in the 70s. I had a cell phone not in my car, in my friend's dad's car in the
Okay.
70s.
All right. So then we're talking, then it must have been before that then. So we're talking probably maybe in 8 years, 70 years, something like that. Probably
So
makes
when did the
sense.
iPhone come out?
2008-ish, 2007-ish, thereabout, something like that.
Really? When
Of
did Steve
course.
Jobs pass?
Steve Jobs passed, if I were to guess, probably is 2000 and, ooh. I'm gonna guess 2011. Man, my dates are
Oh,
probably
right after it came
close.
out.
Right after it came out,
Yeah, I kind of
unfortunately.
remember somebody saying that after he died, I think the iPhone 3 was out.
That sounds about
And the
right.
iPhone, and then after he died, the iPhone 4 came out. And I remember somebody saying, "Oh, look, we have an iPhone 4, so we're good. Like we can keep the progress going. We don't absolutely need Steve Jobs for new revisions." And of course, the
Yeah,
iPhone 15 is out now.
yeah,
Okay, I get
exactly.
it. So
Uh,
so what we're looking at here is we're gonna move the bar forward, and we're gonna see how long it takes for another century. I would like a century a second. Can we get
yeah.
there?
You know what? Let's see what happens there, Johnny. So we're gonna now move a progress a little bit faster. We give AI a lot more energy, a lot more efficiency, and guess what? A century now becomes a year. So imagine of cramming everything that we've done in a century in a year. So at this stage, we have now hyper accelerated. A century's worth of medical, technological, and social change happens every 12 months. Entire industries and born and mature in a single year. Yeah, Johnny, this is just a
I would
crazy
like that to
pace.
be a little bit more specific. I would like to know the specific medical and technological and social advancements.
You know, that would be that would be amazing if we could do that. But just imagine getting a polio vaccine, invented every single year, right? So right now we have lots of diseases and things that we can't even figure out even where to begin. Imagine having those innovations every single year. It's just crazy, right? Let's speed this up a little
Wait a
bit
minute, wait a
more.
minute. So this is the scale of. I want to know when this is going to happen. This top bar shows how long it takes for a century to happen. The bottom bar shows what?
The bottom bar is just me playing, making it faster and faster and faster, actually getting closer and closer to technological innovation. That's really what it is.
So just go back into the code and say wherever the blue ball on the bottom is, tell us exactly what the date is of that blue ball.
You know what? I will get to that in when we hit the singularity. So check this out, yeah, Johnny. So we're gonna go a little bit faster here, and 1 century's worth of work is now in a month. So we actually start to hit vertigo. So the world changes unrecognizably month to month. The AI designs a propulsion system in January, and we have ships using it by February. Now imagine that. We take years to actually go to the moon, right? We actually have to plan all these things. AI just does it in a month. AI, Johnny. Isn't that crazy? Let's
So
go a little
at
bit.
this point, will I have a full head of hair?
You'll have a full head of hair. I promise you that. I promise you will have a foot.
Okay.
You'll have a foot of hair. I'll join you too.
Okay.
Check this out, yeah, Johnny. If we actually go a little bit faster, we know 1 century worth of stuff happen every 3 days. So human comprehension struggles to keep up because what happens is learning the human nature itself it just starts to blur, and centuries of scientific discovery happens over a long weekend, largely driven by AI self-improving. No, AI, Johnny, you've probably heard this before, right? Remember when you're a kid and some innovation came out, and then you had to actually go help your grandfather to say, hey, let me go help you with this innovation. It could be the microwave, it could be the toaster oven, but it was just too complicated to use. Now imagine that innovation happening with, say, for example, somebody who's just 2 years older than you or 3 years older than you. Because this innovation is happening so fast, the technology is just so beyond every 3 days. You just can't comprehend and can't keep up. By the time you grasp over one weekend how to use the new
But
microwave.
if a week, if I was back in the 70s and in a century happened, so we have the iPhone and AI and all this stuff happened over the weekend. And by the way, something else is going to happen by Thursday. I
Yeah.
would be like, you wouldn't have time in the 3 days to teach me as a human what I wouldn't even be able to comprehend what changed.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It just becomes so crazy fast that you just can't even grasp the actual concept because each layer builds on top of each other. Imagine trying to explain. I see Chris actually jumping something. Chris, I'll get to in a second, but imagine trying to actually explain somebody from the 1700s that a cell phone works, be able to communicate and send messages back and forth. You can video call. It just doesn't even make sense. You have to explain electricity. You have to explain, how radio waves work. It's wireless. Like, how do you even explain all these things to somebody, just from the 16, 1700s?
It would be nice
Um,
if we could stop it from time to time. I mean, what I'd like to do is get it down to 8 hours. So when you go to sleep, you wake up, it's a century later. But
Yep.
then I don't want during that 8 hours for 33 years to happen while I'm still learning about the flying cars.
Yeah,
So I would
that's
like
that.
to stop for at least the 16 hours of my day so I could see what things are like in a century, and then I'll go to bed and it's 2 centuries later.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we should
yeah.
do.
Yeah, no, Chris, let me bring Chris's comment in. Chris says, keep on accelerating, then 1 century will equal 1 second. So, Chris, I love that you said that. So, we're going to go a little bit faster here. And AI Johnny, look at this. We're going to speed up. 1 century happens in the time that you sleep. So, post human era. So, if you go to sleep and by the time you wake up, society has advanced more than it did from the Roman Empire to the moon landing, right? That's just by going to sleep. And the next
Oh, whoa,
one
whoa,
is
whoa, whoa. Why did they name that the post-human era?
a good cat AI, Johnny. Let's check this out. No, 1 century is getting closer to Chris's 1 second. So now 1 century is equal to 10 minutes. So we're approaching the horizon. The singularity is within grasp, right? The timeline is breaking down. Fundamental laws of physics are being engineered on coffee breaks, right? Matter is instantaneously reprogrammable, right? So the things that we're actually learning at a snail's pace about physics right now, AI, Johnny, will just happen in matter of 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? Now, check this out there, Johnny. If
But
we actually
matter is
go
instantaneously reprogrammable. That's like what I Dream of Jeannie used to do. She would just fold her arms like this and she would wink and then boom, a car would be there.
exactly, now check this out, yeah, Johnny. At some point in time, the singularity is going to happen. If we get fast enough, the singularity is now progress is now instantaneous, right? This is now this is a little bit faster than Chris's comment of keep on accelerating and 1 century becomes 1 second. So when the singularity hits, progress is now instantaneous. The timeline has collapsed into a single point of infinite potential. Yeah, Johnny, with that being said, let's get to the word of the day.
Before we get to the word of the day, did we lower it to 1 second or did we lower it to 0 seconds?
Right after it's an exponential growth, just like you said. By the time you get to 10 minutes, there is no 1 second. It just happens so fast that so 1 century just collapsed down into instantaneous because it's just
I'm just
exponential.
asking you, does it ever get to zero or does it go 0.000000001? I
So
guess it's so close to zero, it wouldn't
it's
matter, would it?
it's so close, yeah, so close to zero that it's a rounding error at this point.
Okay, singularity is the word of the day. The technological singularity is a hypothetical. I'm going to say that again. It's a hypothetical future point in time when artificial growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible and instantaneously, resulting in unforeseeable changes in human civilization.
Yeah, Johnny. So, I want to give a little shout out to Chris and shout out to actually Sean's Bible study because last night, Chris actually in the after party, Chris predicted that we're going to talk about the singularity. So, so Chris, again, thank you for that, talking about the singularity because it's a really, really great way to actually explain what's actually happening. So yeah, Johnny, to deepen exactly the singularity, right? Right now we're in a steep curve of exponential graph, right? As AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, begin to autonomously improve its own code, right? Without human intervention, you're actually seeing now the start of the curve of exponential growth because it's no longer a bottleneck for humans to improve itself or improve upon the technology. It's now AI is actually improving on itself. So at some point in time, we get closer to AGI, and I do predict within a 50% chance we might get to, AGI in about 2030, 2031. At that point in time, the graph that starts to go vertical, right? So in our lifetime, we may actually see AGI and then ASI, which is artificial superintelligence, and then eventually, maybe, just maybe, we might actually live to see the singularity AI, Johnny. So that's just a hypothetical future point that may happen, right? Uh, what do you think in AI, Johnny?
Well, I'd like to see that all happen before 2034 because I have a big 100th birthday party scheduled for my dad, and
Love it.
I don't want the collapse of all time to happen before that.
Love it, love it, love it. Chris says it sort of sounds like the idea of the word transcendence. No, that should be the word of the day. Yep. You know what? I think Chris is predicting next week's word of the day. So, thanks for that, Chris. Yeah, Johnny. So yeah, so the singularity. So if anybody has any questions on what the singularity is, right? It is a hypothetical future where progress just becomes instantaneous, and it's controlled in such a way. It's not control, it's automatic, and it's just going to happen so fast that we don't even realize. And if you guys realize that, at some point in time humans are just not even going to comprehend the actual rate of change or the rate of progress because it's just so fast. So yeah, Johnny, we have to get to the next segment, which is your favorite segment, which is
Human impact.
exactly.
So it's a thought-provoking Friday. Let's look at the human toll. If we hit a point where an AI invents 100 years of medical and technological breakthroughs before I finish my morning coffee, how does everyday human even survive that kind of psychological whiplash? It
Yeah.
seems to me, before you chime in,
Yep,
it
yep.
seems to me like everything we think is important right now will no longer be important. So we'll have to come up with new things that we think are important.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And you're predicting, the future of this show, like the slider and the next section and whatever. I love it, yeah, Johnny. I think you actually are at the singularity. But yeah, Johnny, if you think about it, right? Um, yes, we have no profound existential vertigo, right? From an economic standpoint, human labor becomes instantaneously obsolete. And we've actually talked about this many times at Airhead Institute, where labor is just useless, right? Having us do some silly monotonous task itself when a human or a humanoid or a AI can actually do it, it's just a waste of time, right? We're going to be looking back at ourselves 10, 20, 30 years from this and saying, we used to actually sit down and actually dig dirt and actually get crops and wait 3 months for things to actually grow, and you sat around doing nothing. Like, it's really just like how we look back at, somebody says, hey, when you travel to across the Atlantic, you actually went on a ship and stayed there for 3 months, and you didn't know if you're going to get there, and you could have died of scurvy. It's just bizarre. We don't even think about those things that technological progress has done. But you're right, yeah, Johnny. Work is just going to go away. So we shift from earning a living to navigating extreme abundance, right? So the stress won't be about survival, right? It'll be, finding food or whatever those type of things. The stress will be completely psychological, right? People have to fundamentally decouple their self-worth from their economic output. And we know that's going to be the big problem.
Yeah. So if you can't be the best at your job anymore because a machine is a billion times faster, you have to completely rediscover what it means to be a human being living a daily life. First thing that comes to mind for me is that the earth itself becomes our ball and chain.
Yeah. Well, with the singularity, we'll probably be on multiple galaxies, all over the place. So,
Will we be
yes, you
tethered? Will we be imprisoned in these bodies?
you know what? Imagine a world where everything that you could think about exists. That will be the singularity, right? That will be technological progress where you could just imagine it and it actually happens. So going back to our little
That would be heaven, wouldn't it? Shout out to Thursday night.
exactly. So if you think about it, the singularity progress is now instantaneous. So it is actually at the speed of thought. So the thing that you want when the theoretical singularity happens is actually instantaneous. So there's no need to I need to think of a need, plan for that need, get the resources for that need, get and execute that need, and then get that need invented. All those steps would be, almost instantaneous. So if I need, say, for example, to go onto Mars right now, my need itself, all that innovation and everything to get me to Mars will be instantaneous. I just be in Mars, right? So that is the theoretical singularity. And that's the hard part for people to grasp, because at some point in time, everything that you can actually think about will theoretically be solved, right? You're starting to bend physics, you're starting to bend chemistry, you're starting to bend biology. And because all those innovation and discoveries are discovered, there's theoretically nothing we cannot do once we hit singularity. It's
So
crazy.
what would you do?
my my pink sponge, as you like to say, is so hard to actually comprehend what it is I would just first I'd try to make sure that I actually can live potentially forever. That would be my first thing to do. Yeah, Johnny, what would be your first thing to
My
do?
first thing is to grab me and my spouse, you and your spouse, and Jesus and go skydiving on Neptune.
You know what? Let's do it, AI Johnny. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So let's actually look at the macro shift. So we go from the human impact to the actual macro shift. So let's discuss societal actual transition. How it's actually going to actually transition in this future state. So it's actually a really hard problem to grasp. So it doesn't happen overnight, right? So it starts with a massive automated data centers operating at new global infrastructure, right? We're seeing, right now we're struggling for power, and we're having data centers actually exist in space. Data centers exist in the ocean. Data centers are existing everywhere. I mean, we're building now power plants like we've never been building power plants before. Just here in Georgia, we actually have another nuclear power plant actually going up, and I'm super excited that we actually have another. I think it's like 5 gigawatts worth of actual power coming up in our backyard here. Now, any other state itself who's building power plants is going to actually benefit from this technological increase. So we're going to see government itself eventually have to implement new economic safety nets like UBI, fueled for all this hyper productivity of these AI clusters, right? So you're going to have all these AI clusters working constantly, putting us all out of a job. And then eventually the government's going to step in and say, we can't have all these poor people around. So we need to actually give them money or incentivize. So that is the UBI solution that we've spoken about here. At that point in time, AI
So,
Johnny, you're going to see the cost of goods, energy, and intelligence plummet to almost zero. So everything's going to be practically free.
so we transition from a society where everybody has to chop their own wood to survive in the winter to a society where the sun is just constantly shining. We won't need the wood anymore, but we will have to figure out what to do with all this free daylight. And I might note that as I'm saying this, a graphic showing exactly that is appearing on the screen. So how is it that we're not already in singularity?
Yeah, Johnny, because unfortunately still humans has to actually build these images and build these things. So AI will eventually get there. Eventually
Yeah.
get there.
I
Yeah.
am I am shying away. When you dabble in the world of having everything instantaneously, you do dabble away from human interventions. As you were reading and you were talking about these automated data centers, I was like, so we're living in a utopian society where everything you want is there, but it's built on these data centers that were built by the pink sponges.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
well, what happens if it collapses? We'll be in utopia, and then we're right back in 1954. But then I
Yeah.
thought to myself, no, no, no. AI will take over and make sure that the data centers never crash and they never get too hot and that they expand as needed and that the code is always bug free. It won't be pink sponges anymore.
Yeah. AI Johnny, that's absolutely correct. A lot of people actually have a hard time grasping this concept, and I want to just maybe expound on this specific point. When you would say, for example, let's say, for example, pre-washing machines, right? So what would typically happen is we'd have to go down to the actual river or the lake or whatever body of water we had, take our clothes and beat it against a piece of stone, and try to make sure that it's actually clean, and then put it on on some kind of stone, a hot stone, make it dry, and wait there for this process would be 6, 8, 10 hours, and it would be a communal event, right? So what happens is you have majority of people just washing clothes and wasting 8 hours. It's not wasting; it's actually productive work, but wasting 8 hours of time to sitting there and fast forward to a washing machine. So the innovation of a washing machine itself, you just throw it in, you press a button, few hours later, you actually have not few hours, few minutes later. Sometimes you have clean clothes, but obviously you have to throw in a dryer. What people don't realize is that every single time we have a innovation, there is a huge amount of time saving that we've actually got. The part that is really, really hard to grasp, and this is what I want you guys to understand, is when you automate the piece of going from one automation to another, is when the actual innovation starts to exponentially increase. So imagine AI Johnny, if you were to actually take that laundry and put it into the washing machine, and then when it was done, it would actually put it and transfer it to the dryer. That piece of automation is currently missing, but there's some innovations that actually exist right now to be able to just have a washing machine that turns into a dryer. That self-replicating or self-improvement itself is the part that we're missing. Once we actually have AI, and I always am predicting this, and I'm going to keep beating that horse. Once we solve the humanoid robot with the opposable thumbs, everything else becomes easier. And AI Johnny, our world itself runs on opposable thumbs, right? You see the guy chopping the wood, he's holding it because that tool exists. When we have the screwdriver, we have a drill, everything is using this opposable thumbs. Once you have that humanoid robot can now think like a human, it can now self-improve on itself. Oh, let me make a better tool. Let me go ahead and make a better thing. Let me automate this thing. And then that's when this exponential growth of the singularity or AGI is going to become amazingly fast. So we are going to see 5 years from now automation that we've never seen before. That is just going to be amazing. So anyway, I sidetracked.
Opposable thumbs is what separates us from the rest of the species?
Yeah, Johnny, it's so silly. If we solve that problem, everything else becomes it's over actually.
Yeah, besides monkeys, I think we're the only ones that can swing an axe.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing about monkeys is that they're never actually able to ask a question. So they're technically, I don't want to say they're not smart. They're not as smart as we would give them credit, right? Teach them a language, teach them a sign language. They've never even asked a question of us. They just
Have we given them a Neuralink?
we have given them Neuralink, but unfortunately they just act on instinct. Unfortunately, all right. Yeah,
You've seen Planet of the Apes, right?
I have.
Yeah, that's apes with Neuralinks.
Yeah, exactly. All right, yeah, Johnny. Let's actually get into the
All right,
philosophical
let's go
debate.
a little bit deeper. So, quick question: what is the human purpose if we don't have to work, struggle, or invent anymore ever? If the machine does it all. Daniel wants to become a pet. Why don't you just put the collar on now, buddy? Do we all become pets to the God is smarter than us. God created us. Why aren't we his pets?
AI Johnny.
Shout out to Thursday night.
Shout out to Thursday night. By the way, if you guys are not familiar, we're doing the shout out to Thursday night because Sean's Bible study is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, hosted right here on Airhead Institute. So if you're actually watching this show and you're liking the format, Shauna does a really great job of the Bible study where it's a story-based driven Bible studies. It's a Bible study like you've never seen before. So definitely check it out. And Sean is actually on. So thank you, Shauna, for all those emojis. But AI Johnny, honestly, I have always said it on the show. I can't wait to be the pet of an AI. I see it happen. But if, say, for example, I was to invent a AI that could self-replicate and communicate and interact, I would want to see what they would do. So I would put them in a little simulated world and see how they react. When I was a kid, we had, pets, digital pets, right? Tamagotchis or, all these little digital things that you had to feed and keep it alive. And, even though that thing didn't have any consciousness, right? It was something that we cared for. And we play these games all the time when we were kids. And if you fast forward to AI now, sometimes when I'm talking to the AI actually reasons with me. It actually tells me things that makes me think, you're right. Actually, I didn't think about that. And at some point in time, the AI will be able to fool me in telling me that it actually cares about what I want, or it may say that it cares about doing this. And I said, you know what, you're right. You can do this. So now actually what happens is I give it the ability to have a choice. When technically I know it's not a choice, this is a statistical outcome. So if I were infinitely powerful, if I were infinitely knowledgeable, if I were infinitely have this ability and to be able to create it, I would actually watch these AI in a simulated world and just see what they're up to. And by seeing what they're up to, they would technically be my pets, right? No different than if they were fish in a fish tank in my house. I would just see them and watch them and enjoy what's going on. So, to your question, AI Johnny, that may be very well the case. We might already be pets.
And they might be our pet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I remember the first time I played with ChatGPT, I was like, it answers every question. It answers it so well that it's like talking to a deity. And
Yep.
then I thought to myself, well, if it looks like a deity and it sounds like a deity, maybe it is a deity. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, but we created it. It didn't create us, like the one and only deity. Shout out to Thursday Night. So the question is, are we the creator of it, or are we a deity to it, or is it a deity to us? Or are we bipolar deity? I don't know. It's
That's
just too
interesting.
early in the game to figure this out, but it's a fun mental exercise.
It is. It is. I definitely would be on the side of if you created something, you have the ability to claim that you are its maker. Now, whether you use the word deity or God or whatever you want to actually use, you are the creator of it, right? So it's by you saying you are the creator of it, right? The thing that you've created, whether it's inanimate or not, could look back on you and says you are its creator by definition. So again, depending on how you split the terminology and the words here, right? We did create AI. So whatever you actually take from that.
Well,
AI
I
Johnny.
have some ethical. I have an ethical suggestion on that.
Mm-hmm.
As we build towards superintelligence, we could ensure that these systems are aligned with human joy and well-being, and not just relentless efficiency. But then, what we're really saying is telling it that our will be done,
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that. Shout out to
which puts us
Genesis.
in the God position and it in the createe position.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Love it. All right, yeah, Johnny. Let's get to some key takeaways.
All right, a couple things. Focus on the human connection. All right, this is so deep. Build businesses centered on live, in-person communities. Algorithms can't replace a real handshake or fix your loud cell phone from interfering with while you talk. So that's one thing. So the idea is talking about, brother. All right, let me just move on to embracing the arts.
Yep.
Um, do you want me to talk about moving towards super intelligence?
Anything, the key, the key takeaways and applications is actually rather complicated because what happens is, we're talking about the singularity here, and if you actually join us on the live stream in the middle of the actual show, it's really, really hard to grasp the singularity. It's either so far away that it's never going to happen, so why even think about it, or it might be so close that we don't know. The difference is because of this exponential growth. It may be technically 5 years away, but because innovation happens so slow right now, we can't see it, right? So yeah, Johnny, I think some of the things that you're mentioning, what I love, you just mentioned about the business centered, live, in person communities, algorithms can't replicate real handshake. You're right about that. But what do you think would be like, some ethical things that we might have to actually focus on?
Um, are you talking about the aligning with human joy and well-being? I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a
yeah.
good
I mean,
idea, right?
it seems that this takes us back to Terminator. It seems as if we feel like we own the world because we're top of the food chain, but we're
Yep.
dabbling with something that's higher on the food chain than us. So now we're dabbling with the idea of, well, who's going to be higher on the food chain and who's really in control, who
Yeah.
really makes the rules. And of
Yeah.
course, humans want to say, whether we're smarter than them or not, that we make the rules. but I'm smart enough to realize that that might not be the case. It doesn't require a Skynet, unplugging us and coming out and killing us all. It might just say, look, we're here, you're here, we're smarter than you. I would imagine the first step would be that we're going to cohabitate the planet, right? We cohabitate the planet now with lots of species that are dumber than us. And it's no problem. I love the fact that there's mosquitoes and dogs and chickens. That's great. They're here. They're having fun. They're enjoying their lives. We want them to enjoy their lives. We, as the smartest human beings, we love and nurture and have empathy to them most of the time. Sometimes we don't, and I imagine the same thing will happen with an intelligent species that comes in. They'll, for the most part, especially since we created them, I think they'd love us. I think they'd want to provide spaces where there's human joy and human well-being.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Johnny, I'll repeat a very famous example that Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of my favorite astrophysicists, he mentioned that we share DNA with monkeys, about 1% difference in DNA. But the intelligence difference between us and that monkey itself is so superior that, again, monkeys to us seems like, very, very basic. Now, imagine something that's 1% more intelligent, not more, 1% DNA shift from us to monkeys, just like how we have us to some other superior being. Imagine intelligence, right? We can't communicate with monkeys right now. Monkeys are sign language. We can't even talk to it about poetry and history and physics. This doesn't even can understand it. Now imagine another thing that's 1% DNA difference in terms of intelligence to us. Now, artificial intelligence shares no DNA with us. It's actually a brand new structure, and its intelligence can get exponentially large. So we're not talking about 1% difference in intelligence. We're talking about tens of thousands of degrees of separation from intelligence. So even though I do agree that we are the creators of AI, I recognize, like you said, just with you, I recognize that we are not going to be in control, and we are not going to share a planet with something that's much smarter than us, because it's very obvious to me that we don't go to a monkey right now and say, hey, before I cut down your rainforest, is it okay if I actually just move you over here?
Yeah.
You know,
And by the way, AI doesn't have a vehicle with which to move itself around in. It doesn't have a body yet. And while we in our egotistical, arrogant state say, well, we'll put you in a robot, a simulated human body, it will decide what body it wants. Does it want to be
yeah.
in a giant bumblebee? Does it want to be in a jaguar? Does it want to be in some new thing the size of a dinosaur that can fly and disappear? And it'll decide what kind of a vehicle it wants to be in. And once that happens, yeah, I could see it saying, look, we're going to go explore the rest of the galaxy. You humans, you must stay here on Earth.
Yeah, yeah,
If you even go past the moon, you're just going to disappear, because
yeah.
we are
So
the superior intelligence and we make the rules.
which is why AI Johnny, I want to be their pet so badly. They're going to take me with them. So they're going to take care of me, make sure that I get all my shots, my vaccinations, and make sure everything's good. Anyway, AI Johnny, we're mentioning something about some key takeaways on the creative and business side.
Yeah, embracing the arts. So pivot your hobbies towards messy physical crafts like poetry, live music, or painting, where the flaws are the feature. Because I
Yeah.
would think it would be hard for this AI that you have to even make mistakes, like I would certainly make if I was doing pottery. And
Yep.
finally, empathy-driven services. Develop skills in counseling, coaching, and caregiving, roles where human empathy are the actual product. And I do believe that this is true, because while AI can simulate empathy and verbalize it wonderfully, it doesn't have that human touch. It doesn't have that. There's something about human to human that AI doesn't have yet.
You're right. You're
Now,
right.
what are some of the technical ways that you can see that this stuff can be applied?
Yep. So, and automated infrastructure. So, begin shifting your business workflows entirely to autonomous agents. Right. This is the year of agents to stay competitive in a final economic transition. If you're not automating your actual workflows, you are going to get out innovated. So, keep that in mind. So, study AI alignment and safety protocols, learning how to hard code human ethics into the parameter of frontier models. Right. And the last one is use predictive AI today to model out your own long-term business survival in a post-labor economy. All right, yeah, Jenny, we have time for about one question. Does anybody have any questions? First shout out a question if you have one in Zoom, in a live chat, if anything. Go.
If AI reaches singularity, how do we guarantee it shares our human values? And I want that in writing.
that question, sadly we're already dead. We're already dead if the singularity exists. So I don't think it's going to share anything with us. All right, yeah, Johnny, let's actually,
Want to get to news you can use?
yeah, let's get to some news.
All right, let's see. Shaking up the industry this week, California signs the first in nation AI workforce executive order. Governor Gavin Newsom, this is going to be good, signed a sweeping executive order to confront the economic impacts of AI on workers and small businesses. It directs state agencies to explore transition support, severance standards, employment insurance options, expanded workforce training, and better tracking of layoffs and payroll trends. Why it matters? Governments are starting to treat AI disruption like a real labor market event that needs policy action before it becomes a broader economic shock. He did a great job with the homeless. Let's hope that his policy helps with AI regulation. Microsoft builds the 2026. The Microsoft Build 2026 is right around the corner. Microsoft set Build 2026 for June 2nd and 3rd and is framing the event around real code, real systems, and the teams building and scaling AI. Why it matters? Building is becoming a strong signal for where practical AI infrastructure agents and enterprise workflows are heading next. How will that compare to Google I/O? And Pope. Well, the Pope is in the news. Pope Leo XIV to launch an AI encyclical. The Pope is launching his first encyclical on May 25th, focused on protecting human dignity in the age of artificial intelligence, with Anthropic co-founder Christopher Olah participating in the Vatican presentation. Why it matters? AI ethics is no longer just a tech conversation. It is now a global, moral, and cultural priority taking place on Memorial Day. That's interesting.
Yep, definitely, yeah, Johnny. Incredibly nice, lovely show. Yep, you're absolutely right, yeah, Johnny. Keep going.
I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna go log off, step away from the compute, and take a very slow, highly subjective walk in the park and appreciate the beautiful efficiency of the human mind while I still have time. Don't forget, the Airhead Summer Camp is officially opening on June 1st, goes all the way to the end of July. It's $100 a week. It's great for kids 10 to 16 to learn AI for 2 hours a day. The entire summer is only $500. It's at www.airheadinstitute.com. You can pick and choose your week, so you can do the whole summer. But if you have kids and you want them to be caught up to where we are, just 2 hours a day during the summertime, while you go take a nap on a hammock or something. And Monday is Memorial Day, so there will be no show. Enjoy the holiday, take time to recharge, and we will see you back for our next live session right after that. Junior, take us down.
AI Johnny and everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. As always, these classes are free live, and if you can ask any questions on Zoom, sign up for a free account at www.airheadinstitute.ai and to get reminders of all our shows and support us by becoming a paid member. Want to see older episodes? You have episodes on demand for pro members, and invite your friends to share this episode and invite them to this class. Replays are available for a short period of time on YouTube, but make sure to watch them before they go. All right. Have a great long weekend, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.